Be with you in just a second. Just making these little origami professional wrestlers. I thought, make a few of them and then do a stream later and make them fight. It's not going to be free though. It's pay-per-view. Let's take a look at the headline, shall we? SummerSlam plans have reportedly been torn up and a major return has been scrapped. A current WWE champion wants another match with The Undertaker, and there were two major returns on tonight's Raw. We'll tell you more in a bit. So we are kicking things off with the news that WWE's original plans for SummerSlam have been torn up, and a major return match that was scheduled for that pay-per-view has also been scrapped. This comes courtesy of our friends at WrestleVotes, who earlier on tweeted, "Was told this weekend the projected SummerSlam card that Creative had in place a few months ago has been torn up. Edge's injury played a big part, as well as the lack of audience. No fans means WWE has little desire to have Lesnar on the pay-per-view. Two major matches scrapped." So, from that tweet, we can gather that one of those matches would have involved Edge and the other would have involved Lesnar. I think, realistically, the plan was to do the big blow-off between Randy Orton and Edge at SummerSlam. I mean, the original plan was, I believe, to do the second match at SummerSlam, but that was pushed forward due to lack of star power, so they did it at Backlash, but obviously Edge suffering that injury, the triceps injury, means he's no longer cleared to compete, so we don't know when we are going to see him next. It's going to be a while. Reports suggest that that feud isn't over. When Edge is back, the plan is to put him back in the ring with Randy Orton. On the Brock Lesnar side, reports suggest that the plan was for Drew McIntyre to go one-on-one with the Beast Incarnate for the WWE title once again. However, with WWE not wanting to put Brock on that because of no audience, which I find a little bit baffling, because realistically, WWE's ratings are really dire right now, and Lesnar is he's a proven ratings draw. Like, he gets people watching the shows, the weekly TV shows, and buying pay-per-views. Whether you like them or not, that has historically been the case. So it's confusing that they don't want to do that just because of no audience. So we don't know when we're going to get an audience as well. So that's a little bit confusing. But now it's looking like we're going to get Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, which I think should be really, really good. Like, Orton is doing some of the best work of his career right now, and we all know that if Orton is invested in a feud, as fingers crossed he would be with Drew for the WWE title, it can be really, really compelling TV. Again, I don't know what the deal is with the Lesnar stuff. I find it baffling that they wouldn't want to use him just because there's no audience there. And Brock, you would assume again that never one to turn down a payday, right? I doubt he's that bothered. So, I mean, right now, SummerSlam looks like it's not going to have that much star power. The likely matches that we're going to see, one I've already mentioned, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, WWE title match, should be great. You've got to believe that we're probably going to get Sasha Banks versus Bayley at that show as well, and we'll get the blow-off to the Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman Universal title feud that we're seeing at the moment. Obviously, we've got the Swamp match coming up on Sunday, and the belief is that they're doing the whole three faces of Wyatt thing, so that will conclude at SummerSlam. Fiend versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title. Three really strong matches. I just think it would be surprising not to see Brock Lesnar there, but time will tell. And I mean, Extreme Rules is looking pretty decent, and I think there's potential leading on to SummerSlam, but it definitely feels like Extreme Rules is sort of setting up bigger matches down the line rather than trying to shine as a pay-per-view on its own. But we'll see. Next up, AJ Styles has been talking about his desire for one more match with the Phenom following the Boneyard match at WrestleMania 36, and the possibility of that match happening. So, speaking to Vibe and Wrestling, when asked if he would be up for the match, he said yes, definitely. He continued, "If that means that he returns to a ring and we face in front of thousands of people, I would not hesitate for a moment. But will it happen? Would he be able to accept it? Probably not. If he decided that his career is over, I respect it. He's already done everything he had to do and has said, that's it, I've had enough. And believe me, I know what that is like." So I love the fact that in all of these interviews, whenever a current WWE superstar is asked about The Undertaker retiring, it's always like, oh yeah, well, if he's done. It's never, now that he's done. We all know that Taker is going to do something else. And you know what? I'd really like to see one more match between the ropes, inside the ropes. Hi, Kenny. And if there's anyone that's going to do that with Taker, I think AJ Styles, even if we've seen them compete before and it's a very different way, I think AJ Styles is such a great shout for that, because he's a guy who will be able to structure not only a very drama-filled match, a very dramatic match with The Undertaker, but also a match that keeps Undertaker safe. Something that would work, just, you know, AJ Styles still right now, even though he's getting older, one of the greatest professional wrestlers in the world. And I can't help but feel a little bit robbed. And it's out of WWE's hands, and I'm not really complaining about this or anything. I can't help but feel a little bit robbed that we didn't get that match. Like, I loved the Boneyard match. I really did. I thought it was great. It was one of my favourite cinematic matches that we've seen since this whole lockdown stuff started. But I was so buzzing for AJ Styles versus Taker. And even though it does feel like that was quite nicely wrapped up at WrestleMania 36, I guess until AJ Styles came back from the dead, even though that was quite nicely wrapped up, I think it's easy enough to book that match in a ring, the match that didn't happen. And yeah, if there's anyone that can do that, I'd like that to be AJ Styles, because I think it'd be sensational. I think we all know it would. And Undertaker isn't done. Obviously, he's not making his retirement at the end of a documentary series on the WWE network. So fingers crossed, eh? Next up, we saw two major returns on last night's episode of Raw. Two women who we haven't seen on WWE TV for weeks, unless in one case you're watching Main Event. Anyway, it's good to see back. First off, Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler interrupting an impromptu 24/7 title match between Akira Tozawa and R-Truth. So they're about to fight. The ninjas are in the ring too, and then Shayna comes out, she batters the ninjas, there's a sentence for you, and then Akira's like, nope, don't want any of that. R-Truth is the same, hightail it out of there, and Shayna cuts what I thought was a really intense, brilliant promo where she says she's been on the sidelines for too long, she's been watching, and now she is calling out all of WWE's women's champions. So I think that's exciting, because that might insinuate that we're not just going to see her on Raw, but also we might see her on SmackDown, or maybe she'll pop up in NXT. Yes, please, they know how to use her. So that's cool, that's encouraging. It's been baffling the way that Shayna has been presented since being called up. I think it's, you know, I think we all agree that she should have probably won at WrestleMania then. She had that match with Natalya, and she's not been seen since. The second woman making her return last night was Bianca Belair. Really, really good to see her back. She got involved in a backstage segment. The Iconics were making fun of Ruby Riott, and Ruby's like, hey, I've got backup, I've got a new friend, and it's Bianca Belair. That's really cool. Okay, it's a bit random and everything, but it's good. It's just good to see her back on TV. A really decent tag match. Ruby hardly getting in any offense. The focus was very, very much on Bianca Belair, as you may expect. Like, it's a return match, if you call it that. And so, yeah, Bianca picking up the win for her and Ruby. And the only time that you may have seen Bianca Belair is on WWE Main Event, where she has been competing against all three of the women involved in this match. Ruby Riott, Billie Kay, and Peyton Royce. They've been having matches week in, week out on that show. So it's good to see her back on Raw. There is a report from Ringside News here. And they state, Ringside News has learned that the current plan for Bianca Belair's part in this storyline isn't long term. She was simply used as a placeholder until Liv Morgan can return. So, you know, I say it's good to see her back on TV. This might be another short-lived thing. If this report is to be believed, this might be another short-term thing. And then when Liv's back, who knows, Bianca will be back on Main Event. But I really hope not, because she's brilliant, and she's got everything, hasn't she? She's really, really good in the ring, loads of charisma. It's just another frustrating NXT call-up. I'm not going to whinge about it too much. Let's do the last story, shall we? And finally, a quick little story regarding who was responsible for the implementation of WWE's policy that if you don't wear a mask in their crowd, at their TV taping, you will be fined. If you missed that report, apparently if you don't wear a mask the first time, $500 redo fine. If you do it twice, $1,000 redo fine. And it's not who you might expect. Although maybe he is, because he seems like a really bloody decent guy. It's Kevin Owens! Kevin Owens! So this comes courtesy of WWE French language commentator Pat Laprade, and I really hope I'm getting the name and the name of the show right here. I failed GCSE French, so forgive me if I get this wrong. It's on the Les Antipodes de la Lutte podcast. How was that? And apparently Owens raised concerns with Vince McMahon on the Friday, July 3rd tapings at the Performance Center. And he told Vince that he wasn't comfortable with the lack of masks being worn in the crowd and people getting too close to each other and so on. And then he said, you know, I don't feel comfortable with this. I'm going to go home. Vince asked him what he thinks he should do. Owens said, you're the person that they're going to listen to. You need to institute some sort of policy, which is why this came about. And an interesting note on this, the fine idea may have come from Owens as well, because he said that once he swore on SmackDown, he got fined, and then he never swore again. So an interesting note there, Kevin Owens being a hell of a guy, as he always is, to be honest. And one more report, in fact, on the details of the mask policy. Apparently, WWE staff, the regular workers at WWE, the regular workers have to wear small face masks, but the managers get to use supervisors. I bookended it with the crap jokes. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm streaming a 2K19 playthrough of the full Extreme Rules card. I don't know how I'm going to do the Swamp match or the Eye for an Eye match, but I'm doing that 8 PM tonight here on the YouTube channel. I will see you there. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to bed. Good night.